John and Sukey Jamison were key forces in the natural food revolution. John, a former executive with his family's renowned coal company. Sukey, a co-chef at top American restaurants. They introduced grass-fed lamb to the nation, explaining why corn-fed product was inferior.
Lamb tastes like whatever it eats. If it's in a feedlot, they're being fed corn, oats, and other grains. Because of the oil from the corn, that oil will go to the fat. And if you hear people ever say that lamb is greasy, it's because of the oil from the corn.
Jamison grass-fed lamb became the celebrated choice of star chefs in the best restaurants in the country. But now, because of COVID's shattering impact on the restaurant industry, the Jamisons are winding down their legendary lamb production.
So where we're going now is, so we have our plant, we have a USDA plant, so we're going to utilize that, and we have a 212-acre farm still with 150 ewes, females, that are that hopefully are pregnant. We have lamb or rams in there now, so they will lamb in May. So we're still staying in the lamb business. It's just we aren't shipping every week through the mail like we were before.
But you're going to miss that shipping, right, to all of these top quality restaurants.
Right, that's true. But then that was the game or the puzzle we played with our whole life, was how to make all the parts go away. When you have a lamb, it has a lot of different parts, and oftentimes the restaurants just wanted one part. So what are you going to do with the rest of that lamb?
Gotcha.
And so that's been what we've been working with all these years.
Gotcha. How is it that Jamison lamb is the best in the country?
Well, thank you.
Well, that's what all the reviewers say. That's what all the famous chefs say.
Yeah, they do, and I think it's that's what we do, and we really got into it. And interestingly enough, when we started raising lamb, we were interested. Well, I was interested in the grass production around here. The grass here is so good in western Pennsylvania. I got interested in grass production for different reasons, and then when we started selling to chefs, I found, and Jean-Louis Paladin was the one who really discovered us, but he was the only 2-star Michelin chef in the country at the time because he was a French chef. He cared about terroir, so it was where it came from, what it was eating, how that made it different than something else. And he thought ours was the best because of the taste of the meat from the grass that they ate. And he compared it to a lamb he had in France called Sisteron. And the Sisteron part of France is in the lower Alps, and the elevation is almost exactly the same as it is here. So it's fascinating. And so we used that, and he was interested in, and that was kind of the start. And then that was '88, and then 6 years later we bought our own plant. So we had total control over everything we had to do to make the product right.
And you just let the animals roam and graze?
Yeah, well, we rotate them. We put them on fresh pasture every 3 or 4 days. So they're never around low grass. They always have full, beautiful grass to eat.
So if they got into the garlic, then...
The garlic is always in the spring. You see that first garlic grass and onion grass in the spring.
Sure. And what about the other times of the year then?
So later in the year, the first thing we have here in western Pennsylvania is that, what Sukey's talking about, that squiggly little onion garlic grass, that you see when you're mowing in April and May. And that gives it that garlic taste. And then later on in the season, you will get things like wild anise, so it has kind of a licorice taste. And then you'll have different tastes all through it. And then in the fall, the most pronounced is probably, July, August, September, we start getting Queen Anne's lace. And Queen Anne's lace is wild carrot. And carrot will if you put carrot in a stew, for instance, it will sweeten the stew. And also sweetens the meat. And you can taste it.
Sure. Yeah,
you can taste all those things. And that's what people like. The story I always tell too is that we had a picnic here with a wine club about 3 or 4 years ago, and a lady was having a piece of a rib chop, and she said to me, "What do you season that with?" And I said, "Salt and pepper," and she said, "No, there's something else in there." And I said, "Here, let me take it." And I physically took her chop off her plate and ate it because I wanted to be sure. And I said, "That's the grass. You've never had grass-fed meat before, or you haven't had grass-fed lamb." But I said, "That's all the different herbs you're tasting, and that's what you think we poured that on." But it's not. That's just grass. That's what you're tasting.
And you never planted anything special for the animal?
No.
This is just all natural Western Pennsylvania.
Right.
Producing the best lamb in the country.
Well, yes.
But it's more than that. It is the processing, because you discovered at some point that you had to very carefully calibrate how you cooled.
That's correct.
Yes, and that story came from the famous Julia Child.
Julia, yeah. So Julia was a very good friend of ours, and which is a whole long story, but what a great life that we had, that we met somebody like that and became very good friends. Anyway, so we used to always send her a leg of lamb for Easter. And the first Easter that we sent her a leg of lamb that was processed at our plant, we sent it to her. And then we saw her in an event about 3 weeks later. And Sukey went up to her and said, "Julia, how did you like the lamb?" And Julia, being Julia, said, "Well, dear, it was very tasty but rather tough."
When Julia said that, I mean, alarms went off, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big statement from...
We had just purchased a big plant, and we're saddled with this, and we go, we don't really know what we're doing. We better find out fast.
And she was, you know, at that time, she was truly an 800-pound gorilla. I mean, she was the man, and she was.
But she was curious about it as much as we were.
She was so interested.
She wanted to know why and how to fix it, and so as we went along, we kept in contact with her.
And that was what she said. So Sukey left, and Sukey's in tears, and we don't know what to do. And so I talked to Dr. Ed Mills, who ran the meat lab at Penn State, who wrote a textbook. I mean, he's one of the best in the country. And the problem was that I was taking grass-fed lamb that didn't have a lot of fat cover over the back of it, like feedlot animals do.
Yes.
And I was putting it, after we slaughtered it, I was putting it into a chill cooler that was between 30 and 35 with a lot of airflow, a lot of CFMs.
Right.
And it brought the temperature down too fast in the carcass and caused a condition, which there's a Latin term, but in the meat business we call it cold shortening. So the muscles contract.
Oh.
And that toughens the meat. And so we figured out a way to do it, to slow it down. We raise the temperature a bit, and they chill down very slowly, and it's incredible. And so what happened was, Julia, being such a student, and she really was a student, when anybody would call her about any meat problem, she would refer them to us.
Oh, wow. How did you feel selling to all these, gourmet restaurants, these top-flight restaurants around the country?
Well, it was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
We were all very young, and a lot of these chefs that are celebrity chefs today that we dealt with, they were just starting themselves, and so they were much more accessible, and we spent time with them, and you know,
It was different
we were all growing
than
up
it is
together.
now.
But it was a new era, the farm to table, right?
That's right. It was Daniel Boulud, famous chef in New York, well, all around the world, said Jean-Louis was doing farm to table before there was a name for it, and it was true. And so Jean-Louis was doing that on the East Coast, and Alice Waters at Chez Panisse in Berkeley was doing it on the West Coast. And we were all the same age within 3 or 4 years, and we were all doing, this was in the late 80s.
Right.
And Norman Van Aken, who's a big chef, and he started Caribbean cooking with French influence, very popular and a very famous chef. He was writing a book, and I was telling him I was writing this book, and we were having dinner together. He was actually cooking for us, and I was talking to him about the book, and I said, well, what's your approach to the book? And he said, well, how we started and what was going on. And I said, well, what's your thinking about it? And he said, well, we were just trying to change the world. And it was true. And we were all, everybody was
Changing the way people think
we
about
were
food.
But a lot of the people, we were all children of the 60s. When you work out the thing, and we were sick and tired of TV dinners. I mean, that's really where it kind of all came from, I think.
Yeah. John, you were a businessman from a very renowned family. Of course, Jamison Cole was famous right in this Crabtree area.
Sure.
At what point did you really start loving being a farmer or a rancher?
Well, we moved back here in '76 to go into the coal business with a mine that was left over in northern West Virginia near Morgantown. And so that's what I did, and I stayed in the coal business for 10 years. Like all those businesses, gas, oil, coal, the price dropped. It goes up and it goes down, and it dropped, and I was out on the street on unemployment, and we started the business on unemployment, which is illegal. But anyway, you aren't supposed to start a business on unemployment.
Did you think he would be, really a sincere, dedicated rancher, farmer?
No, it took.
Well, I was interested in the sheep.
Seems like such a good life out here in the country with the animals, the
It's
fresh
such a
air.
beautiful place. We live in a beautiful place.
It's great. It's wonderful. And lambs now are valuable
Sure.
in Pennsylvania, at the risk of being immodest, because of what we did and what other people did. Now people associate Pennsylvania lamb with being good, and so the price has gone up.
And consumers will still be able to get Jamison lamb.
Yes.
on a limited
For the moment.
basis. A limited basis.
Yeah. We're going to see how it goes.
No, but you're still happy. You're still going to be working. Your lifestyle's not going to be diminished. Yeah. That's great.
It's fine. I'll miss the restaurants, and we're going to miss that. We had a lot of association with customers that we've had retail customers for 30 years, and with the restaurants, quite honestly, we would our vacation. Everybody says, "Oh, this is so nice. You're up on the hill, and it's quiet, and it's this and it's that." What do you do to get away from it all? And to us, it's the opposite. We go to New York, and we'll go to restaurants in New York, and we'll go to 5 restaurants, and we'll be comped in 3, or served entirely too much wine, or whatever it is, because we've
them all these years.
We've been their suppliers.
And finally, you're a great chef in your own right.
Yes, she is.
Your book has a lot of recipes. What is Sukey's favorite lamb dish?
Wow.
Well, 1 or 2.
1 or 2. Well, one of the hidden gems is the tenderloin, which is this. I don't even advertise it because there's not very many of them on the lamb tenderloin. They're look like a little cigar, and nothing tastes better than that.
Tell them how long do you cook them?
About 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes.
It's so good.
I said this is nature's fast food, the finest nature's fast food.
Well, thanks for your time, and congratulations again on having such a national impact. And
Well, thank you very much.
you.
taking
Thank
lamb
you.
to a new level, and
Yes.
you're part of the culinary history of America.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a high praise.
Yes, that is. Thank you.